Diablo players are pissed. Let's talk about it, guys. So this is one of the most upvoted posts over on Reddit, and players are pretty upset. Now, what this has to do with and why this is getting so many upvotes is because of the most recent Halloween event. If you guys haven't seen what the Halloween event is, I'll kind of sum it up, but basically there is these shrines. You can click on them and get these treasure bags that will drop 2 random legendaries, which is pretty much worthless for 99% of the players that have actually put time and they're pretty much min-max. They're just not getting those aspects. You do get free cosmetics, but at the end of the day, having a butcher randomly spawn in that is the exact same, that doesn't drop anything specifically new, doesn't allow the players to feel excited about this event. It's kind of, you log in, you get your daily, and then that was it. It was a very lackluster event to say the least. But there is something else coming out called the Azeroth Unleashes Some Eternal War, and I was really excited about this when I saw this poster because I check Blizzard out all the time. I was like, what the heck is this event, right? So I go into it, and this is why people are pissed, because at first I was looking at this and I'm like, wait, why are they mad? Now notice some of the icons here. So first off, let's go over what is in this Eternal War event login. Okay, so for the logins, you can see that there's multiple things. There's one of them that you can choose. There is going to be like these different skins over here, and then on top of that, you get to legitimately battle the Lich King. That is a proper collab / event. When we had like the WoW event in Diablo 4, is basically just kind of a crossover with the skins. So it's you either buy the skins or that's it. That was the version of their collab. Whereas now, with this, you could actually battle the Lich King, and I think that that's cool. That'd be cool to see a raid boss or a brand new, pinnacle boss to go ahead and defeat and get some awesome rewards. You can see it almost looks like Stitches if you guys have played HOTS, right? But on top of that, there is more than just that. There is actually going to be a face-off in a cutthroat basin. So the forces of Alliance and Horde war against each other. So there's going to be a battlefield and you can battle it out. Probably some new sort of mechanics, hopefully, in this. But I was really excited about this. I was like, wow, this is actually going to be a godly event. I'm really excited about this. And I started looking down. And there's also, here's where it kind of revealed itself, where it says a 2-star gem. What's a gem, right? Are we in Diablo 3? Well, and then on top of that, there's also a Murloc Invasion, so there's another familiar skin that you can go ahead and obtain. And I was looking at this, I'm like, oh wait, hold on, because it was talking about gems. I'm like, okay, is this D4 then? Because that's where I was thinking via the graphics over here. There's also Betrayer Bonds Phantom Market, which I'm not sure if it's like an RNG system. Sometimes some games have that where it's like an RMG system, and I think that this is like the drop rate for it. But basically, there's a pretty cool skin, right, to go ahead and achieve with this event. And then, obviously, once it said 2-star gem, I kind of realized where it was from, and that's because this is not for Diablo 4, but for Diablo Immortal and World of Warcraft. Now, while I want Diablo Immortal and all video games in general to have cool events, I felt like Diablo 4 should have had at least as equal to Diablo Immortal's event. I would say even if they copy and pasted the events, I would have been totally fine with having some battlegrounds, some extra rewards, and a new raid boss of something that was, in another video game. That is what I would consider a proper collab, not just here's some skins, if you buy them, that's it. Now, I did cover the skins, and while some of the skins do look cool, I think there could be a lot more to an event in Diablo, especially since they put up a blog post that called it Meet or Treat, and then when the thing actually came out, it was, again, not received very good by the community. Myself included, I ranted about it in a specific video, but there is some light at the end of the tunnel with this because there is going to be a brand new campfire chat, and that's going to be on November 12th. And if you guys want the summary of it, I'll go ahead and sum it up once it actually does come out. But for the most part, people want to see what is this like mid-seasonal update, and I want to go over kind of the pain points that hopefully will be addressed. And as a Diablo partner, I'm going to go ahead and actually write up some stuff before this, and hopefully they can answer some of these questions, or at least let us know that they hear us from the complaint department over here. So this is a big issue with Diablo in general, is just the game itself does not run very smooth. After the most recent update, I was even getting issues myself. I had the game crash after the update for the Meet or Treat event, which was the Halloween event, and then a lot of people were saying my game won't even run. I'm getting crashes consistently, and it was definitely a problem. I noticed my frame rates were dropping a lot more, specifically after the Halloween event, and every single day they're just keep on pumping out, like, look at all of these like patch notes. It's just they couldn't get the game to run correctly with some sort of update. Something broke the game essentially, and that's probably why they are addressing it consistently, and that's good that they're constantly doing it. But at some point, even though the game is trying to fix itself, and they're saying, guys, we hear you on the crashes, and we know they removed, I think, DLSS at one point because it was just causing some sort of issue. it still just needs to work properly, and I think that that is something that maybe just needs to be baked longer in. I don't know if it was specifically the Halloween event that caused all these issues, but it could be something in the background that they're trying to work on that may come out later, and it's kind of just like a background patch that also caused the issue. But there's a lot of other pain points that I think that should be addressed, and hopefully these will be addressed in the campfire, and I'm also curious to know how you guys feel about some of these subjects, as I'm going to give you guys my opinion on them, and also send it to Blizzard as a partner. But anyways, this person over here had a huge amount of upvotes. I mean, this is almost at 1,000. It's 700, and this was just posted hours ago today. Are we all actually pretending that one-shotting a boss pinata 500 times is a quality gameplay? So what they're talking about is basically saying that the boss needs to be way harder, but the drop rate is way higher. And while I would say that depending on how much time that you actually put in, it may equal out to be the same. So like if the boss takes like a half an hour to fight and you're just not one-shotting it and it's really difficult, is that going to really change your opinion on the game? Because once you defeat the boss, I would say nowadays, when people have already like one-shotted a boss, going back to when you can't one-shot it just kind of feels really bad. But at the same time, I totally agree with, yeah, killing like, you know, Andariel Duriel like thousands of times, and I'm not even kidding when I say thousands of times in one season when we're trying to farm for the exact same piece of gear that we had already farmed for several seasons ago. Is that what we want for the actual endgame pinnacle content? And I always kind of refer back to Diablo 2 or other action RPGs that may have actually had PvP or MMOs, because once I kind of like max out my character, what am I doing with it? The difference between doing a pit 50 and a pit 150, what's the actual difference? Yeah, the monsters have more HP, but is my brain engaged more? Sure, if the monsters are a little bit more tough, I may need to group them up, but for the most part, it doesn't seem like it's like endgame brand new content. Again, with the expansion pack, this is something I kind of ranted on about, but pretty much the expansion didn't really allow us to do really anything new other than like the rune words. Like, we're not gonna sit there and spam the Citadel again and again. In the Undercity, people still reporting that they're not even getting the loot when they're putting it in the tributes. So I don't know what's up with that. They have said they patched it several times. I can tell you for sure it was not working at the start, and that is a pretty big issue. When you have a new mechanic that does not work and the game is crashing, there's just a lot of problems, honestly, with Diablo 4 that like, it makes me think that like we just need to maybe go back couple patches or something, because overall the game doesn't feel as good as it did in season 5. And I've actually stated this even earlier on when I was talking about like the PTR. The drop rates were just kind of bad, but we still kind of need some sort of auction house, and this is something that I want to tie in towards the very end, is like the dupes and the bugs that are going on with some of the stuff that people are doing in the game. It's pretty annoying not to have a way to actually have an auction house in the game when we already had an auction house. Not talking about a real money auction house, but I think that there comes to a point where it's so annoying to trade that it would just be nice to see it in game. The reason why they probably won't add it into the game yet is because there's so many like bugs and glitches and dupes that are going on. They don't want someone in the game to actually be able to, I guess, have the ability to inflate the market. And I kind of get that, but at the same time, to ruin it for everyone versus, you know, the 2 or 3% of the players that would probably like ruin the market, I don't know, maybe they just need to release it and then eventually patch it out. That's more than likely what's going to happen at the end of the day. Anyways, when they said they wanted to scrunch the numbers up, obviously that didn't work. And I guarantee you, when they make the auction house, if they do, it's going to be a system where someone breaks it, someone figures out some crazy duping or bugs, and then they're going to patch it. And I have the mindset of, I just expect things almost in Diablo 4 to come out broken and not working. And it's disappointing to say that, but that's the reality of this game. Consistently, there's just so many problems. This glyph isn't working. This legendary node is, you know, not working as well. But nonetheless, that's the reality of it. But the other thing I really want to talk about is the ancestral drop rate. Tempering we'll talk about. I still think the tempering and masterworking system is just terrible. Like, I don't like RNGing it every single time and just sitting there. Oh, did I get it? There's no skill involved in it. It's just like, did you hit it? It's like a 1 in 5 chance. Did you hit it 3 times in a row? No, we'll go reset it. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm being valued for my time. So hopefully they can talk about maybe getting checkpoints. So you go from, you know, 4 out of 4, and if I reset, it doesn't go to 0, but it then resets to 4 out of 4. So that way, even though it still sucks, it's random, at least there's checkpoints. So at like 4, 8, and 12, those are the checkpoints, and I can reset my item in those checkpoints. Let me know, guys, what you think of that, as I want to give them that as a somewhat suggestions. I honestly think that the better idea for tempering is just I could just choose what I want, hit enchant. That's how it works in Dragon Age, and honestly, like, it felt so good just to be like, all right, I'm gonna swap my enchant. Like, it's so smooth and easy, and I like that. Or you can make it caustic, you know, some sort of material or whatever, but you get to just choose what you want. I just don't like the RNGing of tempering and masterworking. And as far as the ancestral drop rates, these are just way too low. I'm sure a lot of you guys, including myself, we do not have those aspects up, and I think that I would really like to have my max aspects at this point after playing for like 100 plus hours. If I'm not getting a trade, I'm not getting the max rolled aspect. That's a big issue in the game that I think needs to be calculated. And then also just talking about like Paragon, I feel like the grind is still simply too long. I think a lot of people just feel like, oh, I'm never going to reach Paragon 300. And I think that they should make it so the average player should be able to hit Paragon 300 within a reasonable time frame. I know the people that play 30 hours a day, they're at 300. And for me, I just don't find the Paragon grind to be fun, but you guys can let me know how you feel about that. Do you guys like the long grind? Because technically, we're supposed to last until January with this game, but I feel like Diablo 4 is moving into Diablo 3 section where it's like, okay, you have fun for 2 weeks, and then the game gets pretty stale, and we move on to other games and we wait for the next season. And I think that letting us max out on Paragon earlier makes me, at least, and I'm curious to know how you guys feel, want to play other classes, because at this point I'm like, okay, I'm like para 250-ish right now. Do I really want to make another class? Well, I kind of want to get my para to 300, and then I'll make other classes. But if I was able to hit para 300 a lot earlier on, I would still have to level up all of the glyphs, and then the long grind of the aspects, which is basically impossible for a lot of players unless you engage in trade, which has its own issues because of inflation and people duping and stuff. This is something that kind of ties in. The item drops are just horrible this season. If you guys have played the previous season, I myself was able to max out in all the aspects relatively quick. It's just too long of a grind specifically for the aspects. And also, like, the fact that items are not good unless it's GA. I mean, you eventually will get stuff if you just keep on playing. You can do like the Hell Tides, and then you can open up like gloves if you need to get a GA glove. But it's like when you want that specific ranks to core skills or something like that, or just some sort of currency to maybe make an item GA or add GAs onto an item would be something to consider, because to get an item that is like 1 GA versus like a triple or quadruple GA, those are big increments of power, but the amount of grind that's required for the player is just simply too long unless, again, you engage in trade, which is done by a third-party website, which, again, you can get scammed, your items can disappear. It's a rough system. Another thing that I think would be really good, and this is actually like really bad game design in my personal opinion, is that they had all these new runes, and then they're like, okay, we have a rune tab, but there's so many new runes that they don't even fit in the tab. So make the tab big enough to fit just the amount of runes that exist in the game. I think that was an oversight that is like poor optimization. Why would you have a special inventory for a specific thing like the runes and the gems, but you legitimately can't even hold one of each type because there's literally not enough room? Like, it's just optimization UI just needs to be kind of looked at. And it's like, if you just played the game, you'd see that, okay, I don't know how many runes, like what is it, like 30 something runes, 40 runes, but like, let's say that there's that amount, but your inventory can't hold it. It's just, again, something I think we should scroll down. And then again, people are complaining, as I see this time and time again, as far as like, upgrading your glyphs, your tempering and masterworking. It's just not fun to have the system where it's just like all RNG. Again, it doesn't value the player's time, although the glyph upgrades, because you can only upgrade and eventually you will upgrade it, I don't feel it as bad. But I don't know how I feel about like this, because sometimes when like you have this like 70 chance per upgrade and you fail it 4 times in a row, and it's like, come on, it's annoying, I get it, but sometimes people like this. So again, let me know your thoughts on that. But another thing that is something that is more on the high level, this is more so for the people that do fully min-max a character, which as of right now, it's pretty difficult to do it. But there are so many people trying to trade duped items. And then there's also what's even worse is that sometimes people that are listing these items, they don't even want gold. People are they're like, give me PayPal money. And this is where it gets to be really bad. We need a system where we can actually buy it in-game with gold. Not real money, but again, people don't even want gold in-game because they don't even want it. It's just not worthy, because we're getting like, if we go to like the True Whispers, you get the greater cash, right? It gives you 10 million gold, right? And that's not even common to get that greater thing of gold. But when you are trading for billions, like it's like 20 billion for a max rolled aspect, right? And then you have the amount of gold that's given in-game so low. And it's not like you could just increase the amount of gold that you're getting in-game, because that would just make the trade websites even worse, because you can't even trade for the amount of gold that people want, because they just would prefer PayPal money. That is where it becomes an even bigger problem. But even worse than that, people are just getting their gold vanished. So people have also reported items going away. I haven't had this issue, so I can't like say that I've seen it. Perhaps it could be like server issue, but like people have reported their inventory, like things are just going away in their inventory. And then also gold. My guess honestly is that some people are buying gold, and it could be duped gold. At the end of the day, they lost out on some stuff, and maybe that they were 100% legit. Maybe they just traded an item and they got duped gold. How is it their fault? And it kind of sucks for them, but at the end of the day, they need to try to monitor the trade system a little bit better. This is one of the pillars of an action RPG. This was at GDC, I think in like 2019, when Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games, he did this like whole thing. It was a really great video, but he's talking about the core pillars of an action RPG. And actually, I kind of want to bring this up because I actually do find it pretty relevant for this conversation. And this also kind of ties into why Diablo players are mad. So let's look at like the post over here. So Diablo's got that combat, right? We slightly have randomly generated levels, like the Nightmare Dungeons are kind of crafted, but for the most part, the pit is kind of there. And then the randomly generated items, pretty much, that is kind of missing, I want to say. A lot of times right now, it's like you have like your kind of go-tos, and that's just like, objectively, this is pretty much the best. So I'll say that one's kind of halfway there. And then the secure online economy is not existent in Diablo 4. It's just absolutely terrible because, well, as far as trade goes, what are you going to do? Spam the trade channel, WTS, want to buy, want to sell, and then you like list like random items. This is like very archaic back in the Guild Wars 1 days when I used to just copy and paste and I would spam on every single town. It wasn't a good way to trade at all. This is terrible. We needed an auction house or somewhere to actually trade in-game. And as far as deep character customization, this is another very big issue with Diablo, and I think why a lot of players are pissed and kind of burnt out of the game. And it really comes down to kind of playing the same thing. When you have Spiritborn being so crazy, there was another issue that I saw, which was another player saying that like, I can't even get a group. If I'm not Spiritborn, people just kick me out of the group. Well, I want to say that maybe his build actually sucks. I really don't know. I mean, like, that could be the issue. But for the most part, most people should be able to complete the Citadel, which is an area that people are getting kicked out if they weren't playing the Spiritborn, apparently. But again, I mean, it doesn't matter what class you're playing. The Citadel is pretty easy content. But Diablo lacks that deep character customization, and the reason why is because it kind of comes down to you have like these core skills, and then the rest of the skills are just unusable. And a lot of the skills, just in general in Diablo, are basically rendered impossible to actually make a build out of because they are so far behind. The difference between like a good build and a bad build is just too far away. But this is a little kind of a rant video at this point, but I want to know what you guys think about the current game state. Let me know your thoughts down below, but that's kind of what I feel like that needs to be addressed in Diablo's future, especially with the more recent campfire chat that is coming out very soon. So hopefully they can address some of these issues, even if they can't fix them. Like, where the heck is the armory, man? I've been waiting for the armory. It is kind of ties into that deep character customization. When we're all playing Quill Volley or like one of the core skills, I think we could see a little bit more play with it, but hopefully they can address this as Path of Exile 2 is coming out, and well, a lot of Diablo players are looking at that game like a hawk, and you know, I'm going to play it regardless. I've been playing Path of Exile for a while, but there really needs to be a big jump for Season 7, which we've talked about as well. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Let me know your thoughts on any things we talked about down below. But if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you're new here, subscribe, turn that bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.